बंद किया है
सर। Sir, please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
I welcome Dr. Karunakar Trivedi, sir, the Secretary, Chairman of Kasturba Gandhi National Memorial Trust, Indore, serving this great organization since March 2009 at Kasturba Gram, Indore. We are in fact privileged to welcome sir on behalf of Seshadipuram Educational Trust, a 90-year-old organization, Seshadipuram First Grade College, and we are serving this institution from last 9 decades. We are hosting this 7 days e-global conference on Gandhian thoughts in association with Kasturba Gandhi National Memorial Trust, Indore, Harijan Seva Sangh, Delhi, Harijan Sevak Sangh, Karnataka, Karnataka Gandhi Smarak Nidhi, Central Gandhi Smarak Nidhi, Gandhi Peace Foundation, Karnataka, and Gandhi Peace Foundation, Bangalore. We are indeed privileged to host such eminent Gandhians from last 7 days, and we were privileged to listen to top Gandhians worldwide, and we are heartened, enlightened, enriched with the ideologies and thoughts and think process in depth triggered to our delegates across the globe. Dr. Karunakar Trivedi, sir, is a consultant surgeon, thoracic surgery, Sri Indore Cloth Market Hospital, and Dr. S.K. Mukherjee Cardio Research Institute. He was a professor, head of the department surgery, medical superintendent, MG Institute of Medical Sciences, Sevagram, Wardha, Maharashtra, India. Fellow in thoracic and cardiovascular surgery, St. Francis Hospital, Rosaline. Resident thoracic and cardiovascular surgery, St. Vincent Charity Medical Center Hospital. First assistant resident, Leahy Clinic, Boston, and resident surgery, Norway Hospital. He is well versed with Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, and English. And because of the profession, the social service he has done to the mankind from last 30 decades, and he is trying to serve the humankind or the mankind and taking us to walk on the paths of the ideologies and thought process of our Mahatma Ji. So I request Karunakar sir, on behalf of Seshadipuram Group of Institution, our chairman, Dr. Udupi Krishna sir, Karnataka State Smarak Nidhi, and our Honorable General Secretary, sir, Dr. Udupi Krishna sir, President, Shri N.R. Panditaraya sir, Vice Presidents, Joint Secretaries, Assistant Secretaries, Office Bearers and Trustees of the 90-year-old Trust, and our Principal, Dr. S.N. Venkatesh sir, we request you to kindly enrich and enlighten us.
Namaskar. It is indeed a privilege to be here in this august company. I address this lecture to members of the Seshadipuram Educational Trust. I personally have had the privilege of meeting Dr. Udupi Krishna, who has really been an outstanding uh, scholar of Gandhian thought himself. And it is my privilege to be here in this august company. I understand that my fellow speakers for this session are uh, Shri Raha Debakumarji from Bangladesh and Dr. Rajendra Singh ji, whose work with water conservation is world known. It is indeed a privilege to be here in this august company, participating in an auspicious interaction and a historical celebration. I am deeply conscious of the magnitude of the host organization, the Sheshadripuran Educational Trust, that unceasingly, for over a period of 90 years, offered a wealth of education, incorporating culture of value-based living, humility, dignity of labor, self-reliance, entrepreneurship, with a beautiful blend of knowledge, judgment, wisdom, ethics, skills, culture, and grace. In short, education, which is a education with character, which is a rare community. Before I start, I bow my head to pay my sincere respects to the memory of Srimati Anandamma and Srimati Sitamma, whose initiative, dedication, and commitment is enshrined in Sheshadripuram First Grade College and group of educational institutions run by Sheshadripuram Educational Trust. I consider it appropriate to mention here that 76 years ago, Kasturba Gandhi National Memorial Trust was established by Mahatma Gandhi on his 75th birthday, whose work I represent, with a clear mandate to work for well-being of poor rural women and children in India. Over 76 years of its existence, the Trust, through nearly 200 rural centers in 22 states, has empowered the lives of innumerable women, children, and their families through education, agriculture, cottage industry, healthcare, social reforms, providing a prominent place for women in family and society, financial programs, and providing shelter to distressed women with the help of their rehabilitation, all help for their rehabilitation. I take this opportunity to bow my head to this dedication, commitment, and a spirit of selfless service of generations of volunteers of Kasturba Trust who devoted their lives to the cause of the trust anonymously and simply with dignity and grace. Friends, we are in the final phase of 2 years of global activities related to 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi and Kasturba Gandhi, Ba and Bapu as they were called. 2nd October, the birthday of Gandhiji, was celebrated in his lifetime as Charkha Jayanti. Later it became Gandhi Jayanti and a national holiday. United Nations universally celebrates it as Non-Violence Day globally. Over the last 2 years, all attempts were made to familiarize the present generations with Mahatma Gandhi, the man, his life, the experiments with truth, his thoughts, his 11 woes, his renunciation and fearlessness. He was assassinated on Friday 30th January 1948 by 3 bullets lodged in his chest. He died then. He has been immortal since then. On this assassination, Albert Einstein said that years from now, generations of men will scarcely believe that a man such as this tread this earth in flesh and blood. He has been, by universal consensus, recognized as the greatest men to have lived in 19th and 20th century. The whole world participated in the celebrations of 150th birth anniversary year of Mahatma Gandhi. The occasion pinpointed his global appeal and repeatedly his relevance in modern times. This was done by adopting all modalities of human expression: lectures, seminars, debates, essays, articles, albums, exhibitions, pictures, statues, monuments, music, concert, drama and dance performance, charitable activities for the needy, camps, courses, establishment of teaching departments, chairs in university, scholarships, visits to Gandhian ashrams, Samadhi March, to commemorate the Dandi March to Salt Satyagraha. We had all this and much more during these 2 years. Today, in the final moments of this festival, we are all aware of the impact of this exercise and the need to reinforce momentum generated by these celebrations. He said once, "My life is my message." What life? What message? This is the life of a man devoted to truth as his God, to non-violence, dignity of individual and dignity of labor, identifying with the poorest of the poor, the deprived and the neglected, and reducing his needs to accommodate and provide theirs. Toward the last day of his life in 1948, he gave us a talisman. I will give you a talisman. Whenever you are in doubt or when the self becomes too much for you, apply the following test. Recall the face of the poorest and the weakest man, woman, whom you may have seen, and ask yourself, is the step you contemplate is going to be of any use to him or her? Will he or she gain anything by it? Will it restore him his her control over her, his life and destiny? In other words, will it lead to Swaraj, freedom for the hungry and the spiritually starved millions? Then you will find your doubts and yourself melt away. When Gandhiji came to India, he took a tour of the country and observed closely and analyzed. It was clear to him that the British rule in the country was only one problem. There were many other issues that plagued the country, and if anything, were more damaging. There was ignorance, superstition, conflicts, atrocities, exploitation. The country was terribly divided by wealth, gender, caste, religion, communal segregation, allegiance, greeds, and much more. He identified and defined 7 social sins: politics without principles, education without character, wealth without labor, pleasure without conscience, worship without sacrifice, science without humanity, commerce without ethics, and for India to become worthy of respectable independent statehood, these sins had to be consciously and by choice overcome. He worked for these. He needed a team working for their love of mankind, a large family, in fact. He said, be the change you want to see, and change himself. He became the first model, gave up his property and possessions, vowed not to have personal property and assets, reduced his personal requirements, clothes, food, shelter, comforts, evolved a vision of India, created a code of conduct, the 7 vows for all, which we always recite: ahimsa, satya asteya, brahmacharya asangraha, sharira shrama swada, sarvatra bhayavarjanam, sarvadharma samanatva, swadeshi sparsha bhavana. And he created a program of human development needed to qualify for independence. The constructive program, the Rachanatmak Karyakrama of Mahatma Ji, adopted Satya and non-violent satyagraha, a new system of education is a means of desired social and national change required for an independent, self-reliant, value-based society driven by spiritual values and by a sustainable lifestyle providing dignity for all. Guaranteed equality and respect to the adversary in negotiations, aimed not for victory but for respectful compromise. For these values and convictions, he was assaulted, jailed, lost relationships, got isolated and abandoned, and finally assassinated. During his active life in India, as in South Africa, young men and women, elite and rich, poor, educated and illiterate, urban and rural, swarmed around him, accepting his vows, abiding by his discipline, spinning and wearing self-respect khadi, abandoned personal goals to seek human development and independence. Joined by selfless love of fellow men, they became one large family, the Gandhi Parivar, and became a respected group that the country rested its faith on. They made a very disciplined army, and on his call, left jobs, abandoned comforts, participated in movements, got beaten up, tear gassed, went to jail, bore personal and physical hardships, but unflinchingly abided by his direction and discipline. Gandhiji himself explains this. I never asked for any rights. I always focused on what my duties are and tried to put my best effort to discharge my duties fully and adequately. And this has resulted in lakhs of people voluntarily giving such rights on their lives to me as were never enjoyed by the biggest emperor in his lifetime. 73 years after independence and 72 years after his assassination, we have celebrated his 151st birthday only a week ago. The festival is over. What now? Another festival? Another event? My submission is that in these 2 years, this generation and this country and humanity in general have invested thought, time, and resources in Gandhi. It will be an act of great practical wisdom to seek a return on that investment. There are a large number of leftover problems which he wanted to prevent or solve in an independent India, but could not because he was killed by us. He left us a wealth of ideas, values, methods proven by example and experience by many people on many occasions and many nations to resolve issues and disputes by arriving at a solution equally acceptable to all parties. He also identified the problems of his times. We have all several social sins and some more. If our own original creations threatening our integrity, existence, survival, and sustainability as a society and as a nation, at this point, I request you to consider some submissions relating to Gandhiji's 7 social sins. I would only state, not elaborate. Politics without principles. We have today a system where principles are irrelevant to politics. You do not have to have any principles. Education without character has been refined finely. The highest professional degree does not guarantee professional knowledge, judgment, or skills. You get these when you get a job or you go through life. The student's character is his own concern. Education is at best inert or worse. I shall not elaborate. In short, the world has in the new century, since Gandhi, taken the path of ruthless destruction of the resources, environmental pollution, enslavement of masses by a centrist electoral democracy, which in fact is an autocracy of some kind, a market economy, based on greed and promoting possessive behavior, the whole system is unsustainable. Gandhiji once said, there is enough in this world to satisfy everybody's needs, but not nearly enough to sustain one man's greed. On the same subject, he elaborated, the truly rich man is not one who possesses a lot, but one whose needs are few. A noted artist and intellectual, Peter Ustinov, once lamented, at the present state of evolution of humanity, the war should have become an outmoded method of self-expression. The corona pandemic has done more to bring Gandhian pattern into our lives than all the books and lectures put together. By being one with our people, reducing our needs, doing all the manual work, seeking simple pleasures, we have seen that the world is a cleaner place with clean air and water and rivers and more birds and butterflies and a clean environment all around. That may be a blessing in disguise, though for the moment, very heavily disguised indeed. But then disasters encourage united single market efforts. So the problem, the solution, the vision, and the destination are all here. Who will lead us there? Gandhiji once told a young man who offered his services for the cause of the nation, do not aspire to take up the burden of salvaging the whole nation, the Bharatvarsh. Salvage yourselves. Consider yourself the whole nation. May the nectar of self-love enrich your life and you devote all efforts to achieve excellence. The reality is like a jigsaw puzzle with map of the world on one side and picture of a man on the other side. The world, it is very difficult to assemble the map of the world out of pieces. So much easier to assemble the man. We assemble the man, the world automatically gets assembled. The formula of creating a good world is to create good man. Also, goodness cannot be imposed. It comes from within. Thinking for myself and drawing from Gandhiji, I put forth an agenda for future. There must be inner conviction of cosmic unity, on intense realization of oneness of all human and divine spirit. A Sarv Dharm Prarthana, composite pair of our religions must be a part of our lives. This will define our perspective in relationship to divinity. The objective of education should be to provide appropriate knowledge, judgment, spiritual identity, skills, culture, and self-reliance. It should be based on craft and not burden the parents. Commerce and economics should promote skills, enterprise, and personal potential, and at the same time assume unlimited social responsibility for the needs of the poor and the handicapped. Train and prepare people for enterprise rather than employment. Scientific knowledge to be employed for decentralized development and production with a view to provide rather than take away manpower utilization, and evolve environment friendly technology for essential but not exorbitant prosperity using local resources and manpower. System of justice be based on truth and common value system in the society. Be decentralized, more in the form of grievance redressal and conflict resolution by the peers. Then seek a solution based on truth quickly and inexpensively for all parties concerned. the governance should purely be people-based self-governance. People and volunteers, people volunteer for service and get assigned responsibilities and aspire and compete. No money is spent on election. Assign duties and responsibilities, public responsibilities with a sense of duty, humility and open mind, not with power, paraphernalia and arrogance, starting from village. Self-content and assure local opinion, local representation for all local issues. All this will have to be done, will only happen in islands, wherever people are motivated, inspired, and are willing. The first stage is changing self. Let us change ourselves and then work not only for the change, but a distinct improvement. Let us establish our own relevance like Gandhi did and look to our future. Let each of us empower ourselves and stand for truth at first, and then for ourselves and everybody else, and everything that truth requires. May God be with us. In Rabindranath Tagore's words, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is freedom, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where the words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forwards by thee into ever-widening thoughts and action. Into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. With this inspiring goal, let us begin. Namaskar, Jai Jagat. Thank you.
We are indeed so happy and privileged to listen to your statements, which we are supposed to follow. Which we are supposed to follow and given by Mahatma. And you being one of the important medical practitioners, I do understand when you are on the operation table, what all things goes on and how you connect that, keep your patience and cool. And now already you have served your more than 3 decades into the profession, and now you are serving the society in the other way. So it was really, people should understand that they should follow certain principles and guidelines to live and lead. A sheep without a rudder is a person without an aim. So we must have certain aims, and the aim should be so firm that anything, either it can be a cyclone, it can be a tsunami, or anything which can come, but it shouldn't be shaken, because aim and self-esteem goes together. It is like 2 tracks of a railway track. 2 parallel rail ki patri hai dono, which are well connected together. If one succumbs, another falls. Derailment happens. But nowadays, the Gandhiji, what he has determined, no Swadesh, Andolan, non-violence, he has stuck it till his last drop of blood. But we people do understand in this modern era that because of certain short-term benefits, we compromise our feelings, emotions, sentiments, and humanity. So people like you, people like eminent Gandhians world across are holding us tight. So therefore, we salute you people, that you are like binding force to all of us and helping us to go ahead and lead our life, and gelling us to follow the ancestral ideas, father of the nation guidelines, and we definitely must follow to overcome, which morning Rajendra Prasad sir also told that Talim of Gandhiji has led Rajasthan to come into greenery. So definitely we should go ahead and we should follow whatever the ideologies you have taken from Gandhiji, and you are in turn reciprocating it to the younger generation. We should follow them. On behalf of Seshadipram Group of Institution, we wholeheartedly thank you for taking out your most precious time and joining us and giving your valuable thought process so that we can nourish and nurture those thoughts. And we can keep watering those thoughts so that it grows into a big banyan tree. And then this process and this thought process will create a shade and give coolness to entire mankind. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I now request Shankar Kumar Sanyal ji and Nava Kumar sir to unmute themselves so that we can start our next session.
इसको तो ले जाना पड़ेगा।
नमस्कार नमस्कार
নমস্কার নমস্কার
হ্যাঁ নমস্কার বলুন
নব স্যার
বলুন
নব স্যার জয়েন হয়েছিল আবার কেটে গেল
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা এই শোন এটা অফ কর
Sir, can you listen us?
Hello, hello,
Hello.
hello. Yeah, namaskar, namaskar.
Namaskar, namaskar, namaskar.
Ah, sorry,
No, no,
technical
no.
fault.
No, no, no. We do understand.
Sir. So how are you, sir?
Yeah, fine. How are you doing?
Yes, fine, sir. It's a very good morning for me.
Okay. So you are speaking from Bangladesh, right?
Yes, I'm from GANDHIAN, from Noakhali, Bangladesh.
Okay, okay, okay. So we are privileged that in 2017,
Yeah.
Mohammad Yunus ji visited our campus.
Acha. So it's great.
Yes. So now I'll, without further delay, I'd like to request our esteemed speaker, Raha Navakumar ji from Gandhi Center at Noakhali, Bangladesh, to enlighten us with the Gandhian thought process of the 7-day global program, where we have listened from last 7 days to so many speakers, and we were enthralled, and will be our own neighboring, lovely neighboring country, Bangladesh. Navakumarji will be speaking, which during Gandhiji's time was part of the Akhanda Bharat. So
Acha.
I would like to request Navakumarji to enlighten us with the global thought process of Gandhiji.
Okay, namaste, namaste. Honorable President, Sheshadripuram Educational Trust, and today's Honorable Speaker, Dr. Karuna Kaur Trivedi, Professor Shantanu Dasji, distinguished viewers, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great opportunity for me to be here today to speak on Gandhi Ashram of Noakhali. As you know that without Noakhali, Gandhi is incomplete. So I want to talk about something about Gandhi Ashram Trust of Noakhali and the relevance of Mahatma Gandhi at this contemporary world. On the occasion of 151 birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, I am paying my tribute to this unparalleled world leader. The United, we everybody know that the United Nations declared Gandhiji's birthday as International Day of Nonviolence 13 years back. People know him as a great spiritual leader who conceived and pursued the ideology of Satyagraha. He had been a nationalist, anti-colonial leader who paved the way for the independence of this subcontinent. Great personalities such as Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Barack Obama were inspired by Gandhiji's thoughts and deeds. Uh, Indeed, our national non-cooperation movement in March 1971, unleashed by the call of our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, bears a strong imprint on Gandhiji's civil disobedience philosophy. Gandhi Ashram Trust of Noakhali is a philanthropic development organization working in different areas of Bangladesh. It is working since 1946 with Gandhian philosophy of rural development, peace, and social harmony. Gandhi Ashram Trust envisages that dignity and well-being of all community people, especially poor, marginalized, and socially excluded, are ensured, and they will take challenges of their protecting their own rights and entitlements. And they will maintain non-violence, peace, tolerance, and communal harmony among them. The establishment of Gandhi Ashram Trust is rooted with the peace mission of Mahatma Gandhi immediate after the communal riot in 1946 at Noakhali. Gandhiji stayed here for about 4 months in the riot-stricken areas. He started moving around the villages and motivated the people of his peaceful coexistence and non-violence philosophy. The day was 29th January 1947, when Gandhiji came to the Joyak village, actually where Gandhi Ashram Trust headquarters is present, and all sphere of life greeted him with wholehearted support. Next day, he inaugurated a basic school, presently which is known as the Gandhi Memorial Institute, where students from poorest families of the area are getting education from class 1 to class 10. At that time, Barrister Hemanto Kumar Ghosh of this village donated all his resources to Mahatma for the development and peace of the area, and Ombika Kaliganga Charitable Trust was formed. The office of Gandhi Peace Mission, formerly known as Gandhi Camp, was shifted to the present campus of Joyak. The Gandhi Camp started working for both peace and charitable functions, and it continues till partition of India. After the partition, especially after the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi, most of the Gandhi followers left Noakhali, except a few. The non-secular government of Pakistan came up with oppression to the Gandhians, and majority of them were in jail for almost the lifetime of Pakistan. The Gandhians who remained at the then East Pakistan after partition 1971, they had no food, no shelter, no security. They are compelled to live in a very miserable and critical situation with life threat. 4 were killed by the Pakistani army during the liberation war of Bangladesh. The properties of Gandhi Ashram Trust were forcefully taken away by some land grabbers and anti-social elements. The activities of the trust were not possible at that time. The team manager of Peace Mission, Mr. Charu Chaudhuri, was detained in jail for several times, and finally, from 1963 to 71, he was released in 1971 after independence of Bangladesh. Mr. Charu Chaudhuri started reorganizing the ashram in a newly independent Bangladesh and released land and properties from the land cleavers. It took final shape with the Gazette notification of Bangladesh government, where Ambika Kaliganga Charitable Trust was renamed as Gandhi Ashram Trust. A committee representing from both Bangladesh and Indian government was formed to run the activities of the trust. It is a unique example of relationship between Bangladesh and India. Sri Chaudhuri expired in 1990 at the age of 90. After that, Padma Shri Jharnadhara Chaudhuri took the responsibility of the ashram, but she also left us last year at the age of 82. We believe that though they are not physically with us, but their sacrifice, their dedication, their contribution, their values, and their well wishes still with us. The goal, objectives, and activities of Gandhi Ashram Trust are derived from the core value of Gandhian philosophy and guideline. In establishing Gandhi philosophy, Gandhi Ashram Trust of Noakhali is working for the most vulnerable, weakest, disadvantaged women, men, and children of the rural, urban, and hard-to-reach areas of Bangladesh. Gandhi Ashram Trust directly working with 135,000 families and indirectly 1.5 million families with 18 different development programs. Our activities are also much aligned with the SDGs. As is well known, in 2015, the Global Leaders assembled in New York to sign up for the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which espouses 17 sustainable development goals. The 2030 Agenda epitomized a new consensus about a vision of humankind for the next 15 years. The major aspiration of the 2030 Global Agenda for Sustainable Development is captured by the tagline, "Leave no one behind." Gandhiji viewed that progress of a society should be determined by the state of the most vulnerable and the weakest ones. People who are farthest from the frontiers of development are to be brought up to the level of others for real development. He spoke about the weakest and the most vulnerable, not only about the most income poor people. This essentially echoes the concept of multidimensional poverty, which stems from not only low income, but also from life cycle issues, social stigma, locational disadvantages, gender disparity, and other similar sources of risks. The new global agenda has identified the fight against poverty as the main issue of the SDGs. One of Gandhiji's powerful statements reflects a similar thought. Here he says, poverty is the worst form of violence. What an extraordinary perspective of poverty which surpasses time for its unique observation. The SDGs are distinguished by their emphasis on sustainability. The idea of sustainability figures prominently in Gandhiji's teaching as well. He mentioned that what we do today is our future. He also said, we should not look upon the natural resources, water, air, land, as inheritance from our forefather. He considered them to be the loan given by our next generation. Gandhiji said that you have to look at the face of the weakest and the poorest when you do something for them and see whether they are taking charges of their own destiny. Essentially, it talks here about ownership, empowerment, and solidarity. The Gandhian idea of solidarity and partnership is best expressed thought his relationship and the colonial power in the context of joint fight against fascism during the Second World War. Under the 2030 agenda, the world seeks to unite irrespective of the differences in level of development and governance structure against the common enemy of poverty, discrimination, and injustice. The bold new world, according to Mahatma, has to do away with politics without principle and commerce without morality. Nowadays, gender equality is a well-established assumption in our development discourse in general and in the SDGs in particular. The concern for gender equality was also prevalent in Gandhiji's perspective almost a century ago. He said, we should not say that women are inferior to men. It would be liable and it is a sin. In fact, he spoke quite extensively about education for women and their social positioning. He mentioned that the day we will be able to say that our women are safe on the street at night, that is the day we have achieved gender equality. It is only shows that how much Gandhiji was ahead of his time. Gandhiji, in his unique way, mentioned, be the change you wish to see in the world. The 2030 agenda also talks about transformative change, including changing the way of life. He wanted human beings themselves to be the major change agent in the process. A similar idea is embedded in SDG's theory of changes. Earlier I said Gandhiji was far ahead from his time, and he is very much relevant at this contemporary world. Finally, I am paying my tribute to Gandhiji. At the same time, I am grateful to the Sheshadipuram Educational Trust, Horijan Sevak Sangh, Central Gandhi Smarak Nidhi, Karnataka Gandhi Smarak Nidhi, Kasturba Gandhi National Memorial Trust, and Gandhi Peace Foundation to add Gandhi Ashram Trust of Noakhali at this very important and essential web discussion. Jai Jagat. Namaskar.
Namaskar. So though it was too short, but it was full of impactful words. And we feel that once this lockdown gets over, we'll join together to make a big impact on the society and take the learnings or outcomes of the 7 days important program. So on behalf of Sheshadipuram Group of Institution, Sheshadipuram First Grade College, Harijan Sevak Sangh, Gandhi Smarak Nidhi, and Gandhi centers across the globe, we thank you wholeheartedly for coming out of all the technical glitches and speaking to us and enlightening us. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we close the meeting today.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.